Now we will talk about something for me is kind of like the key ingredient in any company or startup, the culture, and that relates to recruiting. And I will tell you how I did it at the beginning. Most people forget that the first hires are going to be the ones that are going to be critical for you, just because they are going to be the ones who will maintain the culture, the standard, the procedures. They will scale the company with you. So just be sure of that when you're starting. I always ask, what's culture for everybody? And I hear people saying culture is the ping pong tables, the office, many things that are not culture. In general, culture is what happens when the founder is not there, which means you can say that your culture is be on time, attention to detail, and many other things. But when you leave, nobody follows that. So that means that your culture is not that. That's why it's so important to understand like how you put that DNA in everybody. And that goes from recruiting, in my perspective. Because if you don't recruit very well, you will end up two things, either supervising everybody or pushing everybody. And you don't want that, especially at the beginning, when you have no processes. Just remember, when you're in a startup mode, everybody helps, everybody do everything, and there is no room for, I need to micromanage you, because that means that you did a bad hire. So, for example, I'll tell you my story about Tecton. I knew from the beginning, thanks to all the books that I read, hiring is everything. So the process that we had at the beginning was really thorough, meaning that from 100 people that I interview, most likely I will hire one, perhaps, or none, just because I knew that it was so critical to have the right people with me at the beginning. In general, during the whole tenure of the company, it's very important at the beginning to understand that, first of all, you don't have a lot of revenue, you don't have a lot of money to hire people. So I was not looking for senior guys, not because I didn't want to, it's just because I was unable to afford them. So what I was looking is people with potential. I was hiring based on potential. At the beginning of the company, I was still at school, so everybody was kind of like a trainee. But we have to run the company like it was a real company, which means that I have to find people that really believe that we can do it. Remember about mindset? So I need to find people that they really think that we can scale a company from Peru to the world. Not many people were able to believe that. In fact, at the beginning, people were saying that's impossible. Even some teachers at my university, that's impossible, that could not be done. That relates to some students. So I was able to find very few people that they really believe that we can do it. And the process was the following. At the beginning, now these days change a lot for the sake of the candidates. So our process started with the following. We always try to stress out the candidate, not because we're mean, but because we want to understand like how they will behave in situations that are normal in the real life of working, which is frustration, not knowing everything, not like a school where they give you all the variables and you just need to use a formula. We were talking about the real world, especially in entrepreneurship where you have no idea what might happen. The test was designed for failure. For all of you that watch Kobayashi Maru test on Star Trek, that was the same philosophy. It was not able to complete the test. The idea was that unless you ask for specific things in the test or make assumptions, there was no way that the candidate can complete the test. That way, if somebody was lying to me, I will be able to know immediately if they mention I finished the test without asking. So with that process, from the 100 people that we give the test, or 50, let's do 50. From the 50 people that we give the test, 25 will never reply to any of the emails, which is fine because they just save us 25 hours of talking to them. The other 25, half of them will tell us they kind of like finished, which we know that they were lying. The other half will tell us, we almost done. I will need more time, but I want to present the test. And for us was like, great, just show me what you have. And of course, from them, we will figure out people that they were trying to just copy and paste or trying to make sure that, something worked. And we don't like them. We like the people that they were really thorough and they said, hey, I haven't finished, but I know that I know how to solve it. We like that because first of all, they are managing failure. They are sitting in front of you telling you that they haven't finished, but they have an approach. So we like those things. That doesn't mean that you're hired. That means that you can go to the next phase, which is more a culture fit test, because you might be very smart, and we had people like that they were extremely geniuses, but when you tell them, hey, you need to teach people or help, it's like, no, they don't know as much as I do. And those people is like, thank you so much, goodbye, you can find a job somewhere else. We like people that they like to be part of a community or a team, that they like to teach, they like to improve, they like to learn. So we sit them for a pair programming test for perhaps a couple of days, a couple of hours, just to make sure that understand how they work. And after that, if you survive that, we will do a final checking with everybody who was involved in the process, just to make sure that we are aligned. We just want to make sure that everybody is in agreement that the decision is the right one. If we had one person saying that I'm not sure, we will hire that person. So that's kind of like what's our process. Pros and cons. It was a very good process because, of course, from 100 people, we hired 1 or 2 or perhaps none, but we know that the people that we're getting, they were really good. And at the beginning, you cannot lose anyone because when you have a company with 100 people and you lose 1, you're fine in a way because it's just 1. And when you have a company of 5 and you lose 1, it hurts. You cannot do that. So process was really good. Cons was really slow because if we're scaling and we need to hire 10 people, just make the math in order to how many people we need to interview to make it happen. Pros and cons, but at least for us at the beginning, it worked. It helped us to create that foundation, that culture. That takes me to the next story. Culture, it's a strategy. In general, you can have the best strategy in the world, but if your culture is not the right one, it doesn't matter. It will never happen. Why I mention this? Because, for example, we were trying to scale and we got the moment in where we need to scale other areas of the business that they were not technically oriented, meaning that we know how to hire engineers, we know how to hire consultants, everything that you mentioned, we know, but not CFO, no HR, no nothing else. So we end up hiring an HR person without following a process, which is a mistake because we were like hiring based on references, but that's not everything. So we end up kind of like messing up with the culture because, for example, at the beginning when we were working from an office, people sometimes each one stick to their own schedule, which means that there were people that are arriving at 11 a.m. and leaving at 9 p.m. or people like me arriving at 7 a.m. and leaving at 5. It doesn't matter. We had the new HR head and she was sending memos to everybody because they were not at 8:30. For her, the culture was like, you need to be from 8 to 5 or 9 to 6 or whatever. She didn't want to understand how we were behaving, what was the kind of like the customs of the company in general. So we end up losing people. People start resigning because it's kind of like, this is not the culture that I signed up for. And as I mentioned, when you're small and at this size, we were like probably 25 or 30, still, like if you lose 3 people, it's 10% of your company. That's not good. So we realized that we made a mistake. We fired the HR head, and funny enough, all the people that resigned returned to the company just because they realized that, like everything was fixed, which shows you that they like the company, they like the culture, they didn't like that person. So lesson learned. And that was part of our newest strategy. After that, regardless of who you are hiring, which position, every single one of them needs to go through tests and some kind of process just to make sure that we hire the right people. And that helped us because that mistake didn't happen again. And just remember, when you're hiring people, good things and bad things might happen, meaning that some people might be really good at the beginning. And then as the company grows, they might not grow the company. What this means, there's people that they were perfect when you were like a startup, like less than 50 people, because everybody knows everything, everybody knows all the names, and it's a different vibe. When you scale, there may be people that they are not so comfortable with that, and you need to make the decision. Either you help them one way or the other, like either you push them so they can scale and grow with you, or they will have to leave the company. And that's something that you need to be aware. That was one of my mistakes, thinking that everybody will grow with the company when it's not that happening all the time. So just be sure of that, because it was a reality. Not everybody will grow with the company. People will leave because they want different avenues. In our case, one of the reasons that why not most of the people, but some of them leave is because when we started, even myself, that was my first job. So they were like 5-7 years in the company and they never tried nothing different. So they want to try different things in the world. Be prepared for that because that happened. Just remember that your strategy needs to be in recruiting culture, like listen to the people. Like we try to adapt our culture to all the changes that happens. Like at the beginning, everybody were working in the same place. Later, we start opening offices in different countries. And for example, when you start scaling, the question is, do you hire somebody from the country where you are expanding? Do you send somebody from your core team? Many people will say, yes, hire somebody. No, I was sending people from our Peru office just because they know the culture, they know everything. So they will be able to kind of like plant that seed in the new office and make sure that everything goes accordingly to what we believe. Those kind of things, just making sure that everything is in place, which leads me to just have, I don't want to say a growth path or a career path, but kind of like I work in the opposite way. It's kind of like I like people to create their own path, meaning that we will support you and give you all the tools as long as your path is aligned with the purpose of the company. That means that whatever you want to do, we'll support you. That's in fact how we end up building the mobile team, the consulting team, the UX UI team, because we didn't have it. I mean, I was very bad at mobile, I was very bad at UX, but there were people that saying, hey, why we don't build this? It's like, sure, what do you need? And we provide that. So I think the culture in my head is upside down, meaning that the management is there to support the company, not the other way around. I hope this helps you to avoid mistakes or at least make a new one and recruiting.